Welcome, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. It is a real pleasure to be here with everyone again. I am Mari Margill with the Center for Democratic and Environmental Rights. We had an excellent day yesterday. Really very happy to see everyone joining us today. Reminder for those of you just joining us that we have panel sessions throughout the day. If you'd like to ask a question of our presenters, there is the question and answer or Q&A button within Zoom, and you can type in a question there. We also have the chat box if you'd like to share something. So please do that, and we'll facilitate, us moderators will be facilitating those questions during the course of each panel. So thanks very much for everyone for joining us. Again, there will be recordings made available of these different panel sessions. They will be posted online on YouTube, website, social media. If you would like to receive notifications, we put the newsletter sign up into the chat box, so you can just sign up right there and receive it right in your inbox. So I have the pleasure today of moderating our panel on Asia. And we are really pleased to start off the day today with this panel because there's a great deal of activity occurring in this region on the human right to a healthy environment, as well as the rights of nature, including some recent court decisions which have recognized legal rights of rivers in Bangladesh as well as in India. So this next hour, we have the pleasure to hear from two distinguished panelists, Shrishti Bajpayee of India and Manzil Murshid of Bangladesh. Let me introduce Mr. Manzil Murshid. I'm so glad you could rejoin us. Advocate Manzil Murshid founded the organization Human Rights and Peace for Bangladesh in 2004. He is a lawyer and has brought many, many cases before Bangladesh's Supreme Court. He filed more than 300 public interest litigation cases to protect human rights, archaeology, the environment, and the rule of law. His work is helping to develop the institutional facilities necessary in his country to strengthen constitutional governance, democracy, peace, the protection of journalists, and the implementation of human rights and the protection of nature. In 2015, Advocate Murshid was awarded the National Environmental Award by the government of Bangladesh. And more recently, he argued the landmark case in Bangladesh in which all rivers in the country were declared to possess legal rights. The Supreme Court upheld that ruling in a decision earlier this year. So please join me in welcoming Advocate Manzil Murshid.
Good morning from Bangladesh to all. The Honorable Moderator Mari Margill, panel speaker Shrishti Bajpayee, participants around the globe, ladies and gentlemen. At first, I express my deepest gratitude to the organizers of this international dialogue. I am thankful to the moderator Mari Margill for giving me an opportunity to deliver a speech in this conference, and also to all of you joining globally today. Dear moderator, before switch over my portion of discussion here, I would like to focus on the components of discussion, the panel topics, like as the rights of nature, the human rights to a healthy environment. Rights of nature means, firstly, nature includes land, sand, biological biodiversity, mountain, rivers, etc. The term rights refers to being and existence and then growth in a harmonious environment where all the living beings and non-living things exist side by side. The nature enjoys its natural rights, no doubt. However, if it does so with the recognition from human beings, then it might be termed as legal rights of the nature. Dear moderator, the second topic is the human rights to a healthy environment express two dimensions. One is human rights, another is healthy environment. Human rights have been defined and recognized in many laws and international documents such as the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 1948, European Convention of Human Rights, American Convention of Human Rights. In Article 25(1) of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, we can find only some implicit reference of a standard of living to a healthy environment. The different countries adopted human rights into their fundamental laws or constitution. Those human rights have become part of their law, legally enforceable in court of law. In the above proposition of law, the word human rights has been recognized as legal rights or fundamental rights in the law. In Bangladesh, some of the human rights recognized as fundamental rights of the citizen under Article 26 to 44 to Chapter 3 of the Constitution of Bangladesh. On the contrary, a healthy environment refers to such a natural situation where not only humankind but also other natural elements exist in a sound, balanced, and proportionate condition, in a harmony and coexistence behavior. Here, each of every elements of nature share its every beats of life. They are survival in such a way that everything seems natural. Everything gets birth natural, grows natural, and dies natural in harmony. In such a situation, human rights enjoys highest esteem. So if there is no healthy environment and human rights can be fully enjoyed, in this way, it may be said that the rights of nature and human rights to a healthy environment is interlinked. For both of its existence and continuation on earth, human communities and nature go hand in hand when so coexist, otherwise they contradict while overriding their interest. So there is no option except good bonding and relationship between human community and nature itself. Dear moderator, now I'd like to focus on my work under umbrella of HRPB and purpose to advance the human right to a healthy environment or rights of nature. Human Rights and Peace for Bangladesh is a voluntary organization formed in 2004 to serve the helpless and poor people, as well as the protection of human rights, archaeology, etc. HRPB has been performing its voluntary activities without receiving any fund from any corner in Bangladesh or in abroad. HRPB also working to build up awareness about the protection of nature, archaeology, environment, and human rights. In this regard, more than 300 public interest litigations have been filed to protect river, canal, pond, forest, hill, mountains, sea beach, archaeological site, etc. Also filed several writ petitions to stop pollution of water, of natural resources, pollution of air, sound pollution. I have also challenged several laws, including 16th Amendment of the Constitution regarding the removal of judges on the ground of violation of human rights, and the court has declared it violated. HRPB also able to stop food, medicine adulteration by way of shutdown of the industries involved through court order. Different activities which are causing to destroy nature and environment has been stopped by way of appeal cases. Not only that, in order to protect the nature and environment as well as to establish rule of law, HRPB has organized several seminars as part of the awareness program. We are giving free legal aid to the poor people with a view to protect their human rights and also taking steps for protecting the environment of Bangladesh through court proceeding. However, in course of time, it expanded its scope of voluntary services to advance human rights to a healthy environment and protection of rights of nature as well. Dear moderator, the scope of services of HRPB to advance human right to a healthy environment and protection of rights of nature ranges from 1. Building up awareness amongst violation of human rights. 2. Filing public interest litigations for the benefit of the common people. 3. Organizing seminars and mediation. 4. Mobilizing the civil society in support of protection of rights of nature. 6. Taking legal steps against pollution, ecological imbalance, and environment damage and encroachment of river, canals, and wetlands. Due to judicial intervention and many steps under the umbrella of HRPB, many people have saved their life and enjoyed their constitutional and legal rights peacefully. Rule of law has been ensured in the society and government functionaries have been performing their duties, actions under the law. Some of the reference of legal steps taken by HRPB are follows. Remove encroachment of 4 rivers around Dhaka city and river Kornufuli at Chittagong. Stop hill cutting at Chittagong. World largest sea beach at Coxbazar and Kuakata sea beach protection. Stop discharging industrial waste into river Buriganga. Shokipur forest protection. Stop hydraulic horn. Protection more than 60 river, canal and ponds. Stop chemical use in fruits. Closing down of 48 pharmaceutical industries producing medicine without following GMP, collection of earthquake rescue equipment, ensure traffic management and reduce road accident, establishment civil vacation court, protection from mobile tower radiation, stop minority torture, agricultural land protection, domestic workers protection, protection of archaeological site at historical Lalbagh Fort, Hithargarh, etc. Dear moderator, all these cases have been greatly influenced the lives of the common people of Bangladesh as well as the protection of rights of endangered. Accordingly, people have had a better rule-based society in life. More so, due to this case, people got a healthy environment to exercise their human rights peacefully and the environment coexisting with the rights protected. Dear moderator, now I would like to solicit your attention to the second point, summary of legal changes, law passed, court decision, international treaties regarding on human rights to a healthy environment. Bangladesh being an overpopulated country of almost 180 million people requires a balanced relationship between environment and development. By this time, there are many laws and rules relating to environment, which also includes the Bangladesh Environment Conservation Act 1985, 2. Playground, Open Space, Park and Natural Water Reservoir Conservation Act 2000. 3. The Environment Court Act 2010. 4. The Climate Change Trust Act 2010. 5. The National River Conservation Act 2013. 6. The Water Act. 7. The Bangladesh Biodiversity Act 2017. There is a Department of Environment under the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. However, right to environment has not mentioned in any of those laws and rules. But in our constitution, some of the civil and political rights has been recognized as fundamental rights which can be enforced by the court. However, in 2011, Article 18 has been inserted in the constitution as a state principle for protection and improving of environment and biodiversity. More so, Bangladesh has ratified more or less many international treaties, conventions relating to environment and human rights related issues. In spite of all these laws and rules and treaties, conventions, there has been lacuna in the implementation of such law. To minimize the gap, HRPB has come forward before the Supreme Court under writ jurisdiction to ensure the human rights of common people and protection of environment, a right of nature, and successfully doing that protection of environment, a right of nature. Despite of 3 times death threat to my life from different corner, that threat could not stop me from restraining me by work. Rather, I got encouraged due to support of millions of people who are in favor of nature, environment, and human rights. I hope the judgment of living entity of rivers will ensure the right of all rivers as people of Bangladesh enjoy their fundamental rights. Due to judicial intervention in the matter, the 4-river case, the National River Conservation Act was passed in 2013 as per the judgment, and the National River Conservation Commission was formed. However, there has been serious visible inaction on that part of the local and national administration to implement legal provisions and court judgment. Consequently, HRPB had to file many contempt cases under Article 108 of the Constitution of Bangladesh to implement court orders. Dear moderator, at one point of hearing of Turak River Protection case in 2016, the Honorable High Court Division expressed its concern that how long encroachment and pollution will continue despite of many directions. Finally, the present panelist proposes some opinions, and accordingly, in 2019, the High Court Division in its judgment passed 17 directions recognizing the river as a living entity with legal rights. The Apex Court of Bangladesh upheld the safe judgment in an appeal in 2020, though it modified 3 directions in respect of prohibition of enforcement polluter to get bank loan and to contest any election of the country. This judgment was appreciated by the world community, considering the protection of rivers as well as environment for the protection of human rights and its existence. Now Bangladesh is included within the few countries in where river rights has been ensured through court judgment or law passed by the parliament, such as Colombia, Ecuador, India, USA, New Zealand, and Bolivia, etc. The declaration of legal entity of rivers has far-reaching impact on environment and or ecology of Bangladesh, providing a healthy environment for ensuring human rights peacefully. Now, due to such declaration, HRPB or anybody may opt for protection of rights of nature and protection of human rights to a healthy environment directly in contempt jurisdiction in a state of writ jurisdiction. These are all good signs of Bangladesh for advancements of legal rights, nature, as well as human rights. Thank you to all, and thank you to moderator and all the participants.
Thank you so much, Advocate Murshid. That was incredible. Your work has been really, really, obviously, groundbreaking in your country, and it's leading so many other countries to say, what can we do? I want to ask you first, do you believe that the court now recognizing rivers as legal entities with legal rights, living entities, and the upholding by the Supreme Court of that, do you see this as a first step to the recognition of the rights of other ecosystems within Bangladesh, or even nature on the whole?
Thank you very much. Yes, I think this is one step to recognize the other rights of nature, because in the meantime, there are also some other laws to protect the other animals, to protect the mountain, to protect the hills, forest, everything. And we are also working in every cases, separate cases is filing to protect the hill or other nature or animal or species. And I think this will be a guideline for the first time when river rights has been recognized as a legal right, because human beings are getting their legal rights as per their constitutional rights. But when the river rights has been recognized and which we will treat as a fundamental rights and we can enforce by the court, in future, I hope, by following this judgment, there will be also some other steps from the court to protect the other nature's rights as well as our human being rights of Bangladesh.
Okay, thank you. So I want to talk a little bit about the different situations in your country. So Srishti, your Prime Minister Modi had campaigned on cleaning up the Ganges River, for instance. And Advocate Murshid, you talked about how in your country that you've received death threats for the kind of work that you're doing. So obviously there's different politics and different threats and different concerns within this work, which, you know, as we see, advocates for human rights, indigenous rights, and environmental rights are often threatened. Many are killed during any course of a year. It's a very frightening idea. I wonder if you can speak to that in terms of, and Srishti, I'll ask you first, you know, the politics in your country around cleaning up not only the Ganges, but other rivers as well. Can you speak a little bit to that? You know, what does that look like? Do you see leadership coming from the national government, or is it something that you think really needs to come more from the community level?
Thank you for this question, because, you know, why we have to go many times to the court? Because law is there, but we need to go to the court because there are some obstruction. And this obstruction is coming from the two parts. One is the influential. Who is the influential? Who is linked to the political party in power? It is always happening in the world, in everywhere in the country. So when a judgment or a direction to stop the pollution of the environment, then we find there's some industrialist or some businessman who is behind this. And obviously in our country, there are a lot of businessmen is coming to the politics, and more than 60% businessman is the member of the parliament. So always they are taking their interest in favor of them. So in many cases, when the law is passed, but the implementation of the law is very difficult, because in the field level, they are always influencing upon the administration by way of threat or by way of money, both sides. And as a third world country, I will say in our country, there is a lacuna to follow the implementation of the law, as I told you earlier. So this is very important for us, because the politician who is running the country, if they don't believe, if they don't cooperate to protect the nature and environment, it's very difficult to protect it, because only the court direction and law cannot ensure the right of the nature and right of the environment to protect it, because the high level consensus and political consensus should be there. You know, our Prime Minister received a very prestigious environment award from the United Nations. And from her part, there is a very good attention, there is a very good direction from the Honorable Prime Minister. But the only one, the Prime Minister is not working in the field level in the very remote area. So there are some organizations, there are some administration. So all the administration cannot dictate or cannot control by one person. That's why there is administration. But in our administration, there is influencing by the political party, by the influential moneyed man, and that is the problem in our country, to enforce the provision of law. Even when a judgment is passed, in many times we have to go to the court. You know, I am fighting for the 4 rivers of Dhaka, around the Dhaka city, for 11 years. And in the 11 years, we are fighting, and every time we have to go to the court for implementation of the judgment. But this is now, a situation has been upgraded. Earlier it was so tough, but now the people understand, administration understand, no, there is no option to protect our environment, protect our nature. And so I hope in future, if we can work continuous effort, we can give to continuous effort. In future, I think the political pressure, influential money pressure, we can overcome this situation.
Thank you very, very much. Srishti, I want to pose a similar question to you. Prime Minister Modi, as I mentioned, campaigned on cleaning up the Ganga. I know that's been controversial. Can you speak a little bit about what the politics and dynamics are, particularly for your work within India?
Yeah, definitely. So, yes, Prime Minister Modi has has had this ambitious plan of what they call Namami Gange project, which basically meant to ensure to maintain the purity and the flow of the river. And Prime Minister Modi actually won the elections or contested elections based on advocating that they will clean up the Ganga River. But what we see today is, of course, that Ganga still runs polluted. Around 2 billion, 2 billion is spent on the river rejuvenation, but yet the government simultaneously has also passed several schemes and ideas and policies have been proposed, which actually further dilute and further erode the river's ecological functions. The very recent one being Char Dham Pariyojana, which basically means a four-lane road in one of the most ecologically sensitive region like that of Himalayas, to reach sacred sites for Hindus in upper reaches of the Himalayas. So this further degrades the river. There's large scale dredging happening. There's excessive privatization. So the sewage was further privatized, but this has not resulted in cleaning up of the river at all. So what we see basically, and then a very controversial one is that the government passed a Ken-Betwa river interlinking project, which by all means of scientific and environmental studies is completely disastrous. So what we see is just a basic use of river in ways that can take forward the political agenda. But at the end of the day, there is no cleaning up of river. Ganga is still polluted. And in fact, massive plans and policies of degrading eco regions and rivers and promote it, like 450 hydropower projects have been planned and have been built on the river in Uttarakhand, the state which passed the Rights of Rivers Act. So there is a massive contradiction between what is being said and what is actually happening and what is the condition of the river. So it's dangerous, and of course political activists, environmental activists are always threatened like rest of the world, and they have been questioned, they've been called anti-national. So yeah, that is what is the struggle and the politics of rivers and in general is around.
Let me ask you a follow-up question, Shrishti, which is the human right to water or clean water, I know is very important within India and very needed. I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about how you see that related to the human right to a healthy environment and or the rights of nature itself within India.
As I mentioned in my earlier comments, I think both of these are very closely related. Right now, the access to water is in itself a question for a lot of people. So for example, if you come from a particular caste, you don't have access to water. And it gets delimited further if you are from a particular religion or whatever. So those complexities of Indian society, in fact, further marginalizes people and communities. So we very much need a right to a healthy environment and access to water in a country like India, which is so complex with its and with so many communities living with massive inequalities and also further amplified with the kind of policy making that has been happening. And it is closely related to the rights of nature. So as I was saying, that any destruction of a natural entity or a space directly impacts the community, and they're usually the communities who are living along that space, and they're usually marginalized communities, they're poor communities, they're already in some sort of a deprivation. So both these rights have to be looked as one, because any human right to healthy environment has to have rights of nature as part of it. And also we have to look at collective rights rather than focused individual rights, because collective rights also is a sort of idea or a philosophy that a lot of communities have been talking about, which actually talks also about the duties in turn with the responsibilities. And some acts have been able to have that philosophy at their foundation. But while we are working towards something like rights of nature or right to an healthy environment, we also have to think more about how do we bring in collective rights as also a philosophy and with sense of duties very clearly enshrined into this act or a policy.
Thank you. Thank you. Advocate Murshid, I wanted to ask you, now that you have had the Supreme Court decision upholding the rights of all rivers within Bangladesh earlier this year, can you talk a little bit about what you expect implementation to look like? I know that you said that you've had to go to court many times on different issues to bring a case on implementation. Specifically, though, on the rights of rivers, can you tell us what you expect, what your reflection is on how implementation will be carried out to uphold these rights and to enforce and implement these rights within your country?
Thank you very much. You know, this judgment comes finally from 2020, few months ago. But earlier there are many directions in respect of many rivers, and we try to always to implement the direction of the judgment. And most of the cases we have succeeded, though it takes long time. And what we are expecting from the judgment that there will be a new era and starting from a new point, because earlier we went to the court for a direction to stop encroachment or to stop the pollution. But now we can go to the court directly. What are our citizens went to the court for protection of their human rights, fundamental rights as per the constitution. And now after this judgment, the river can go to the court for his existence, for protection, for life safe and everything. I mean, what is the life of the river? Because the existing area of the river should be intact. Their water flow should be intact. No can encroach in the river. No can pollute the water of the river. This is the right of the river. I mean, natural right. So now at times when the judgment has been passed, what will be benefit for us that I can go to the court directly if there is any violation of the rights. So I can go to the court for contempt of court. That means the violation of the court direction. This is the final stage, what we have done for earlier in different cases. First we filed a writ petition, then judgment, then implementation, no implementation, then we go to the court to use the power of the court for contempt of court, and finally is implemented. So after this judgment, what we can start from a new era, that directly we will go to the court for contempt of court. So I think by this judgment, there will be a lot of times we can save to implement our implementation of the direction to protect the nature and river and another things, because after this judgment there is a consensus in the whole country, in the whole administration and whole judiciary, that there is a new thing, because river has been recognized as a legal entity and legal rights. So this is a new for us all over the world, in many countries all over the world. But I think this is my analysis, that by this judgment, what we will expect and what we will get benefit, that by this judgment we can fight our movement from the top stage, so that I can go to the court directly if there is any violation of the river rights. So this is a new era, and I think this will save a lot of times of our case, because earlier we lost many times, but by this judgment now we can start for a little time and we can achieve the establish the right of the rivers.
Thank you very, very much for that. One of the discussions that we had yesterday in the panel on Latin America, we heard about Ecuador and Bolivia and Colombia with laws being passed, court decisions being issued, recognizing rights of nature and rights of specific ecosystems in that region. And we had some conversation about how what happens in one country in the region can impact, within that legal system, can impact legal systems in nearby countries. And I'm wondering, you've had court decisions now in both of your countries. And Shrishti, I know, as you described with the high court decisions around the Ganga and Yamuna and other rights of rivers and other ecosystems, that those decisions have been appealed and stayed at the Supreme Court level. But now that Bangladesh has recognized rights of all rivers and upheld that at the Bangladesh Supreme Court level. I just wonder, Srishti, if you can tell us, do you see that having a positive impact on what's possible and advancing these kinds of rights within India? Like, is there a regional influence that you see as being a positive influence?
Yes, I think definitely there is having these rights recognized in Bangladesh, some work happening in Nepal, possibly some work also happening in Pakistan is definitely interesting. One reason that it is positive and it will be useful is that there could possibly be collaborations between these countries on ecological grounds. Whereas what now is happening, for example, with Kali River in between India and Nepal, is India is trying to claim territory over the areas where Nepal has the territory. So, and what India built a Farakka barrage, which then impacts what happens in Bangladesh. So some of these things, some movement like that, which is at South Asia level, can promote that sort of a collaboration. One difference between the India case and the Bangladesh case is that in India, there has been no, so I should give a background of what happened in the Uttarakhand High Court judgment. A petitioner went to the court saying that the river is polluted, there is sign manning happening, can we do something about it? The court judge went out of his way and passed a judgment which had actually no connection with the petition that was filed by the petitioner. And all these judgments, the ones that I mentioned, were passed by one judge, the same judge. So right now, what we see is that it is very specific to a judge who is inclined towards this movement and is passing these judgments. We also know that this judge passed a judgment in the same High Court on restricting rights of local pastoralist communities in accessing forests. So there is these bit of a contradictory judgments, and that is why it is important that as civil society, people who are interested in exploring these questions, we actually get into consultation and dialogue, that this doesn't go in a way where communities' rights are actually in any way infringed. So it goes in a much robust way where their rights are protected, and that is why that whole consultation is happening. And these examples from Bangladesh and Advocate Manzil's work as lawyer taking it forward is very important because we need that sort of activism at both levels. Currently, right now, there's very little. And in fact, a very recent case that was being argued in the court, the Supreme Court bench completely rubbished the lawyer, saying that, do you even understand what you're arguing? So these situations still exist. We need not much more training for lawyers to be able to represent this in the court. We need much more consultations among the civil society to be able to really form our sense of around what it would mean, and hence much more campaign and advocacy at the local level for people to be able to bring that in their articulations of resistance or creating spaces of collaboration.
Thank you. I'm afraid we're at the end of our panel session time. I want to thank both of you, Srishti, Manzil. Thank you both so much for joining us. This has been a fascinating conversation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Marie. Thank you, everybody.